Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December council meeting for the town of Port Royal, our final council meeting of the year. We're going to start tonight with a public hearing. There is a sign-up sheet going around. Please, everybody who's here, please sign that sign-up sheet for the public hearing. And the first item of business is ordinance 2022-14, an ordinance to provide economic tax incentives in the town of Port Royal. Quick briefing, Van, are you going to take that, or Noah? Nope, Brooke, sorry. I got to put little names next to who's in charge of each ordinance now. Just a real quick.
Okay, I briefed you, believe in November on the economic taxation incentive. This is already adopted by the city of Beaufort, so we carried that over, adapted Port Royal for it. In your package, you will see that I've included the application for someone to submit to the town if they are interested. It would be an incentive of 3 years of taxes on that property that they'd be able to receive back, and on properties that are unoccupied would be 5 years.
Very good. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll go to the second. Ordinance 2022-15, an ordinance to annex into the town of Port Royal approximately 9.64 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 100, map 31, parcel 123 and 38W, located at 463 and 471 Paris Island Gateway. For people who have been around a long time, the old Sky City. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next item is ordinance 2022-16, an ordinance to zone approximately 9.64 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 100, map 31, parcels 123 and 38W in Beaufort County, South Carolina, zone 2, T4 Urban Center, T4 Neighborhood Center, open. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close that. The next two, if you have an agenda, items D and E are being withdrawn tonight. So items D and E for public comment are being withdrawn. We're going to move on to item F. Item F, ordinance 2022-19, an ordinance regulating digging of holes at Sands Beach in the town of Port Royal. Any public comment? I believe we had one. Please come forward.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name's John Norman. I'm on 16th Street Extension. And my question, it's really a question about this, is from what I understand, digging is to be limited there in depth. And I was curious as to why we didn't choose to limit digging off the driven area into the area that's roped off where no one drives. You know, where the fence is, basically, toward the beach. Why wasn't digging limited to that area as opposed to the depth being limited? That was really the question I had.
Okay.
So I guess it's more of a question than a comment.
The holes are dangerous wherever they are,
Well,
whether they're for cars or people walking, so that's why I wasn't limited.
You
So,
know, you think about the whole,
Right.
when it comes to public comment, we don't normally like to go back and forth too much,
Okay.
but we're gonna do it real quick.
Okay.
So you think about the hole doesn't get backfilled properly, tide comes up, it makes it soupy sand, somebody's walking on the beach, next thing you know, they sink, they break your leg, they're in pain. So that's the aspect of it, not just the cars. The beach is more for pedestrians and people and playing in that aspect. So
Understood.
that was the reason why. Thank you so much for your comment, thanks for coming tonight. Next item is item G, ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance to repeal and replace the entirety of Chapter 20 trees of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Port Royal. I think we have a number of people who have submitted their names. No particular order. We'll start with Elizabeth Bergman. Just the way they were sitting up here.
And I have nothing prepared, nothing terribly eloquent. I'm a little under the weather. My passion is not subdued. And I want to say thank you very much for listening, for your commitment to updating this. My main comment tonight is to strongly urge you to not take this longer than tonight. Do not bring our ordinance in the old fashion into the new year. We need this protection now. We need it yesterday. We needed it 6 months ago when we first started talking about it being done. So I really would like to see that happen tonight. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Michael Murphy?
So, good evening. Hi. The Town of Port Royal has taken a very proactive move to revise Chapter 20 trees, an ordinance that basically is supposed to protect the trees in this wonderful town, which has a wonderful tree cover. The old ordinance wasn't doing the job properly. I was privileged as a board-certified master arborist to be part of the workshop that put together the new ordinance with a few other people. And I think we did a really good job. We were very thorough, and I think this is an ordinance that needs attention to right away and needs to be brought to fruition as soon as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Czar?
Good evening. I also was part of the group that helped work on the tree ordinance. I remember when the 12th Street tree episode occurred, and many, many people showed up at a public hearing here upset. And council said, we will pass something to fix this as fast as we possibly can. Well, it does take time to actually put an ordinance together. But the ordinance has been put together. You've already done first reading on it. There are developers just waiting to come in, and if you put it off for another 30 days, then you've got Kent's Court and things like that. So please don't delay this. The ordinance is essentially based on Hilton Head's ordinance, although not quite as complicated as Hilton Head's. So it's based on an ordinance that's stood the test of time, with courts and stuff like that. It's been around for a long time. It's not something that we just pulled out of thin air and created. So it is a big improvement. I think it will make Noah's life easier. And so please do not delay second reading of this ordinance. Thank you.
Jesse White?
Thank you, Jesse White, on behalf of the Coastal Conservation League, and I too was honored to be able to work with Noah and Brooke and Michael and Wendy and Mike Murphy on how to come up with an ordinance that will carry out the intent that I think that this council had in adopting the previous ordinance. And a couple of things I'm sure Noah will highlight, go through the ordinance in greater detail, but a few things that I think really stand out about this draft that you can feel really confident about. And the first is that there is clear and there's strong language of the purpose and intent and definitions in this ordinance that will help guide the ordinance in terms of interpreting what is meant, what is required, but also in its application, as mentioned. Very thoughtfully catered to how the work is actually going to be performed in the planning department, and you can feel confident about that. Also, clear and strong requirement that preservation of existing trees is the rule, and that any alternatives to that are considered once that is exhausted. That's the right way to go about, from a legal perspective, ensuring that the priority is always placed on preservation, is doing everything that you can, and when it's not possible, then you move on to the other options. The new ordinance also has value factors for the different types of trees, and that's really important in ensuring that priority trees and diversity of tree coverage is retained. There's a mechanism in place in the new ordinance where you can seek a waiver to the design review board in limited instances where compliance with the requirements of the new ordinance is not possible. And there's a meaningful increase in the fee for those unavoidable or unexempted tree removal instances. And I say it's a meaningful increase because it is not exorbitant, but it is meaningful in that it acts as a real deterrent. It is a significant enough number that it would encourage people to think about being more creative, and that's the real intent behind this new ordinance. It also empowers staff with the tools and the rules that they need to help guide development while also protecting the trees that define the town's natural heritage and the community's sense of place and quality of life. And I understand you may feel this is happening quickly and may feel that you want more time to digest the language, but there is a real sense of urgency here. The town is in a critical juncture with a lot of very significant pieces of property that could change the character of the town of Port Royal in a way that cannot be replaced. This ordinance will not discourage development. It will encourage smart development, and it will encourage development that incorporates the natural features that define Port Royal. I strongly encourage council to adopt this on second reading tonight. Ensure that it is in place at the end of the year, because as stated, there are some significant and destructive projects that would evade these protections and result in the same public outcry that you were facing over the summer, but with no recourse. Your staff has worked incredibly hard and thoughtfully on not only the language on paper, but in practice, thinking through using examples of what is this actually going to be like? How can we make sure it's clear? Not even just how can we make sure we can tell people no, it's how can we make sure people understand the rules? And I think that that's really, really important, and you should feel really good about your staff's perspective in thinking through to that level of detail. Lastly, should there be a desire to make tweaks to this language, you can do that, and you can do that immediately in the new year with text amendments. But I ask you to think about what you want the default ordinance to be during that time. Do you want it to be one that is protective of this community and what this community has said that they care about, which is retaining those natural resources and trees that define the town? Or is it about accommodating a developer's desire to move quicker? And encourage you to adopt this ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other public comment on trees? Come forward.
Kip Bruce, resident, 9th Street, council members. I just want to say thank you to Noah and Brooke and Wendy and Michael and everybody for working on this, and for y'all saying that you're going to look into it. And I just want to reiterate, I'd like you to pass it as soon as possible and not wait until the new year. I think it's important, just with all the projects that we have on the horizon. Just wanted to go on record saying that.
Thank you. Closing that public hearing, opening the next. Ordinance 2022-21, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the Building and Building Regulations, Section 4-1, adopting the codes by reference of the Code of Ordinance for the Town of Port Royal to adopt the International Building Code with South Carolina Building Code modifications. Any public comment? Hearing none. We'll close the public hearing section of the meeting, and we'll move on to our regular council agenda. Our first item of business is our Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please stand and face the flag. Maribeth, can you lead us? Yep.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilman Muniz?
Father, we thank you for this opportunity as we assemble before your presence to conduct the businesses of the town. We thank you for the holiday seasons that we are embarking upon. We thank you for those people that are, we pray for those people that are in need. We surround them with faith and love. We pray that everyone will continue to spread their love and joy and to make a difference in the lives of those most in need. Again, we thank you for the business that we're about to conduct on tonight, that it will be in the best interest of those whom we serve. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Next item of business is our approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes in our packets, public hearing from November 2nd, our council workshop from November 2nd, and our council meeting from November 9th. What is the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve the minutes from the public hearing of November 2nd, workshop on November 2nd, and council meeting on November 9th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, I'm good with them. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Next, we have a presentation from the Park and Rec. John, our chairman for the Park and Rec Commission, please. Thank you again for helping us.
Yeah, no problem.
And serving the community.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. For the better part of the last year, the Parks and Rec Commission has been researching outdoor gym equipment and the companies that make the equipment. 2 months ago, we finally chose a company to work with on the Naval Heritage Gym project, Outdoor Fit Exercise Systems. Outdoor Fit was started in 2003. Outdoor Fit was started in 2003 by John Lewis. John has over 45 years of experience dealing with fitness equipment. John and his team have developed a range of outdoor fitness equipment products that brings the best of indoor commercial fitness equipment to the outdoor world. It is totally tamper-proof and tested in the toughest indoor and outdoor recreational environments. Next slide, please. The equipment is built to last. It has been tested and designed for the world's harshest environments and comes with a 15-year guarantee or warranty. One thing I would like to make clear, this isn't an adult playground. 100% of Outdoor Fit's exercise equipment stations have a commercial-grade indoor fitness equivalent. Outdoor Fit's equipment is built from heavy-duty steel and aluminum. All steel components go through a multi-step paint process that ensures our equipment can stand up to any climate and environment. Every single piece of equipment designed, manufactured, and supported by Outdoor Fit Exercise Systems is based on a solid biomechanics and brings the quality of indoor commercial exercise equipment to the great outdoors. A good portion of Outdoor Fit's customers are correctional facilities. They have installed equipment in over 500 correctional facilities across North America. Correctional units typically see 12 plus hours of daily use, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, year over year. For obvious reasons, the equipment needs to be 100% tamper-proof, which is beneficial to us since it will be outdoors with no guard monitoring the gym. Now, what we're proposing is 5 pieces of equipment that will need to be placed on a 22-foot by 25-foot concrete slab. We're also recommending a fence be put around it to keep small kids and pets out of the area while someone is working out. The site will provide up to 9 users at one time, 40 plus different exercises and movements. It will offer a full body workout just like you would get from an indoor gym, just with an outdoor setting. The equipment will provide stretching and warm-up recovery movements, cardio training, strength training, real 100-pound weight stacks, body weight training, and functional training. So the 5 pieces of equipment that we're recommending is first the Apollo Multi-Gym. This is their flagship product that can accommodate 5 simultaneous users. You can do it comes with the chin-up bar with assist function, a high pulley station for tricep press down, upper back, pull down, and more. Has a dip station with a assist function, a low pulley station for bicep curls, upright shoulder rows, back seated row, and more. Has an abdominal vertical knee raise, a calf station, a back extension that is adjustable depending on your height. Has a plyo box for step-ups, elevated knee touches, seated crunches, box jumps, Bulgarian squats, incline push-ups, and many more. The Apollo Multi-Gym comes with the high-low pulley station, and it has an adjustable weight stack allowing users to select between 10 and 100 pounds. The selector pin is a unique design and cannot be removed from the unit. Any potential crush zones or pinch points have been eliminated from the equipment through their unique locking mechanism that ensures the weight plates cannot be lifted while the weight is being adjusted. Next is a separate Versa high-low pulley station. The high-low pulley system is a tamper-proof and weatherproof indoor-outdoor fitness machine featuring the Apollo popular high-low pulley system that provides biomechanically correct workouts in an extremely small footprint. As you can see on the slide, there are examples of exercises. We should be on slide 11. There we go. Thank you. As you can see on the slide, the examples of the exercise can be done, As you can see on the slide, the examples of the exercises that can be done on a high-low pulley station, and it is also what the instructional placards will look like on the machines. Next slide. The Everest Cardio Climber, we're recommending 2 of these. The Everest Cardio Climber mimics climbing a set of stairs in a continuous motion and allows the user to choose their step height based on their individual fitness level. Next slide. There are 2 different modes for the climber. The strength mode targets the glutes, thighs, and cardio. The cardio mode obviously targets cardio, and then your calves, your thighs, glutes, and like I said, we're recommending 2 of these machines. We're also recommending the Flex Multi-Stretch. It's a critical part to any exercise program is stretching before and after any workout. The Flex provides options for dozens of stretches and movement for proper warm-up and recovery. In addition, it has a foam roller integrated onto it to roll out those sore muscles. It also comes with an instructional placard for various types of stretching that you can do. Next slide. The instructional placards provide a full color visual on how to perform exercises with key points indicated. It also has a QR code that can be scanned from any smart device to pull up a more detailed instruction or video. The instructional placards have a tamper-proof glass and frame bolting it to the equipment. All the equipment can be painted whatever color we like, and we can also add the Town of Port Royal crest to them if you would like. So grand total for all these pieces of equipment, we're looking at about, and this is with shipping cost, $62,540. Are there any questions?
First question, just so that we make the statement, that's within the budget?
That is
and
within the
grant?
budget, yes,
Right.
that's under our budget.
That's under the
That
budget.
leaves money to pour the concrete.
And a statement for
Go
the,
ahead.
for the town to know that that budget's not coming out of the general fund. We were
Correct.
awarded a grant for that, so just so everyone knows that's not coming out
Right,
of,
that was-
that's kind of where this started from, was that grant award, and then let's start working on it, so.
Yes, sir.
It started from a movement to do one, then Van, I think, found the grant, did the application, we got the money, so we moved it on over and asked them to do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Questions just with, what's your estimate on, like, Public Works and our guys with maintenance on it? Do you see them having to go out there and fix anything, or tinker with anything, or?
No more than they already have to do with the parks that we have
Gotcha.
in our toolbox.
Okay. And then, just so we all know, so how many different companies did you look at? And I was in a lot of these meetings, but just to have them out publicly, so.
Absolutely.
How
we-
and why was this one what was the selling point?
So we looked at about a half a dozen different companies. We ended up interviewing 2 of the companies. One of them we were able to interview as a group. One of them, for technical reasons, could only be interviewed by one individual on our commission, but he recorded it and we were all able to watch it. At the end of the day, it came down to the price. This one was a lot more in our realm. The other one was right at our max before laying concrete. Trying to think. I felt that it was a little bit more professional, this one. I didn't think it was nearly as intimidating for our community as well. Plus the fact that they have a certificate that they're one of the only outdoor fit companies with a safety feature in there where you cannot get pinched in their moving parts. The other company that we interviewed did not have that. There was that liability in there.
Any information on durability? Because you know, in that park also, we've experienced a lot of vandalism and so forth, and it's just another item that could
Correct.
potentially just attract misbehavior.
Right, and like I said, they have these in over 500 different prisons, so they're very much tamper-proof. You cannot extract the pin from them. You can't take it out of there and use it for any weapon. I think not to encourage any tampering, but I think the most tampering you're going to see from it is, if any, is spray painting,
Okay, well, of course you can.
and there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, that happens. And how big was what's the,
The footprint, the total footprint that we're looking to utilize would be 22 foot by 25 foot,
do we have a idea of a look?
right there.
Is there an overlay of where it's gonna go in the
location
park?
on the?
I don't have, I can get you one, but no, it's gonna be, in that triangle, just as you're going towards the city of Beaufort, in that triangle, just on the other side of the boat playground.
Okay. Okay.
500 square feet?
Ben, technically, mechanically, we don't have to vote, they have the authority to spend that grant money?
We have the grant, I mean, it was a formal recommendation from the Parks and Recreation. and
So
can
do we-
start the
do we
process.
need to
I mean,
vote on that?
I would feel more comfortable because of the dollar amount involved if we.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's not on council actions, do you
Right.
want us to do it now or add
You,
to
you
council
you
action?
can't adjust the agenda,
Right,
so
so-
you have to do it in January.
I have to do it in January at this point. So just so that we close everything for that reason, can we have an overlay of where you're gonna put it in the park before, at that January meeting?
Absolutely.
And then we'll take it up for final action at that meeting. Does that work?
Give us time to come up with some colors.
Yeah,
I like the Port Royal crest on it.
I agree, if we can do that. Gary, you have something else?
While we have John before us also, I have something also, a bucket list.
A bucket list?
No, just a request, one
Okay,
request.
go ahead.
Since John represents the Parks and Recreation, I've had a few people actually to come to me and ask about the possibility of installing public restroom down at the Naval Heritage Park. And, that park is in a lot of use, and I've taken some pictures of several other locations I've gone to, from Southside Park, the Green Street Park, and those parks are not nearly as utilized as the Naval Heritage, and they have public facilities. And they're on timers also, wherein, they lock at a certain time, and then they're open, for the public use to discourage occupancy that shouldn't be there, so to speak.
Correct.
And we were talking about with us receiving the grant for this piece of equipment. Could you explore, see if there are any other grants available? With us having the Historic Porter's Chapel out there, maybe we can look into that in some type of historical funds or something that may be available, grants. And also, just explore that for us also, in the possibility of see if we can acquire some funds to get some public restroom facilities out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, as far as parks go, I don't think you've got more going on in any of it. We got a skate park, we got a farmer's market, we got a historic museum.
That park gets used, I think, more than any other park in
Right.
our
Gigantic
garage there,
playground.
yeah.
And if those underutilized parks can have a public facility without an outhouse.
Some of those parks had an advantage. Southside was a wastewater treatment plant with bathrooms and showers and all of that it was there, converted to a park. So everything was there. Green
Yeah.
Street was
There's a brand new.
that one they built
Yeah,
new,
that's
that one,
brand
yeah.
new,
So
yes.
I think it's time to start looking at that. I know Sands Beach is something we've talked about also. How do we get it there?
So that was-
Naval Heritage is an easy one. Sewer's right there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Beaufort Jasper will donate the capacity.
I'm sure we can get that worked out.
Well, we have
may-
a committee
We have a
should
board
be
member who
there.
might be able to help us out with that, so,
I know.
And
that's
thank
why
you
I
for
said that.
what you've done on this.
First order.
but, yeah, so we'll take a look at that. I mean, honestly, we really need to look at all the parks, and we need to prioritize. bathrooms. I mean,
Prioritize,
you
right,
know,
yeah.
Parker Park, John Parker Park.
Sands,
Sands, the three big ones.
Yes, sir.
It's time to look at them all. Okay.
Right.
John, thanks
Thank
for
you,
your
John.
group,
Thank you.
everything they've done so far, and we look forward to doing a final motion on this in January.
Thank you, I can tell you,
Thank you.
as the liaison on that board, they put in a lot of work on there, so a lot of hours, a lot of time back and forth, so,
I
yeah.
think when we first kind of talked about this, we're like, could this really ever happen? And here we are. So, great work.
Thank you, all. Appreciate it.
Next item of business, Historic Foundation, Pete Cotter. Pete, come on forward.
Mayor DeVito and members of Town Council, good evening. My name's Pete Cotter. I'm here as a board member of Historic Port Royal Foundation, representing the Building Committee. In 1976, Mayor Henry Robinson called for volunteers to form the Port Royal Bicentennial Historical Committee, which was chaired by Postmistress Emily Bishop. The focus was to plan and implement the 1976 bicentennial celebration of Port Royal and to establish long-range goals that will perpetuate Port Royal's historical data. In 1977, Historic Port Royal Foundation was chartered with the state of South Carolina as a 501c3 with a mission to preserve, protect, and promote the heritage and historical integrity of Port Royal, South Carolina, to preserve and build on the work of the disbanded committee. 44 years later, in 2020, Historic Port Royal Foundation opened a small museum to share its collection and tell a town story. 46 years later, in 2022, I ask you to recognize that many of the volunteers, board members, and docents active today have been involved since the beginning, serving on the Bicentennial Committee. And I think the only, Emily, I'm sorry, Eileen Newton is here. I don't think Carol is here? Okay. So I think Emily represents the original crew then. Today I address Town Council expounding upon 3 words: value, vision, and visibility. With value, the museum provides educational opportunities to our visitors, creating a sense of history and a pride of place. We serve Town of Port Royal and regional residents, including school field trips, researchers, visitors traveling both domestically and internationally, and prospective residents considering moving to Port Royal. The museum shares a Port Royal perspective of how the town of Port Royal affected the development of the entire southern portion of the state of South Carolina and the significance of our waterways to the economy of the region. Although not all visitors sign in, the 2021 logbook recorded over 3,000 visitors despite COVID. By the end of November of 2022, we have already logged in 3,554 visitors. The museum develops a symbiotic relationship with the town of Port Royal assets, the Cypress Wetlands, Spanish Moors Trail, the Sands Beach and Boardwalk, Fort Frederick, and the National Park Service, Pinckney Porter Chapel. The museum also serves as a welcome center, currently open 4 days a week, manned by volunteers both as docents and board members. The docents regularly provide recommendations, directions, and information in support of the visitor experience and our local businesses. The museum online presence helps attract traffic to Port Royal, as does our printed material distributed at all South Carolina welcome centers on the interstate highways, the Low Country Visitor Center in Yamasee, which is the correct pronunciation according to the indigenous groups, and the Visitor Center in Port Royal. Tonight, we ask the town to acknowledge the value of the museum and its secondary function as a welcome center, as a long-term community asset. Vision. The Board of Historic Port Royal Foundation recognizes 3 realities. First, that the current building is too small to properly showcase the history of Port Royal. Second, the uncertainty of the museum's continued operation in a month-to-month rental space. And third, the requirement of developing long-term financial stability. The board is developing a plan to create a new building, a highly visible focal point directly on Paris Avenue in the immediate proximity to the Cypress wetlands that can serve as a welcome center, a larger museum with proper support spaces, including room for supporting both digital and research libraries, and possibly a multi-purpose room available for public meetings with significantly higher capacity than available in existing town hall. The concept is to provide a facade representative of an 1870s mercantile building framed by existing live oak trees, showcasing our sense of history and pride of place. Now, Port Royal has lost many historical buildings, the railroad, and the historic port facilities, but not our history, which is what we showcase. Viability. Historic Port Royal requests a partnership with the town of Port Royal with a memorandum of understanding for the town to make a long-term commitment to partially fund and to jointly seek county, state, federal, corporate and foundation grants, contributions, and earmarks for funding land acquisition, construction, outfitting and operation of facilities and services of the Welcome Center and Museum. As a municipal government, the town has access to state and federal funding programs that Historic Port Royal Foundation cannot access alone. The facility is proposed as a long-term community asset and a community economic development project to improve the long-term viability of Paris Avenue. Ownership structure of the land and physical plant is open for discussion. Control of building construction funds and operating funds or operating endowments is open for discussion. Ownership of the historic Port Royal collections, however, must remain with Historic Port Royal Foundation. Now, pending future discussions with the town as a partner, land acquisition costs, the actual size and specification details of a building, outfitting and new exhibits will be a new budget to be determined. A preliminary conceptual budget is projected about as $3 million for museum alone and $4 million for museum and multi-purpose building. We respectfully request your commitment to partner with Historic Port Royal Foundation. We're talking basically, initially, our concept is a building of about 3,500 feet of exhibition space and welcome center, 3,500 feet on the second floor, hopefully, of support space, which is a combination of staff space, meeting rooms, office, and even offices for some of the other nonprofits, such as Friends of Cypress Wetlands and Spanish Moss Trail. That and also storage capacity for exhibits that are not on display at the time. If we do a public meeting room attached to the building, that's projected again as another 3,500 square feet, which in simple terms is about a 350 person capacity building. Now, if the town has need for that as we've envisioned it for a meeting room, that would serve everybody. If you are going to build another town hall at some point, you may not need that, but this capacity is only, I think, 125, if I remember correct. So it's already been a challenge to you many times, and if we build this, there's flexibility if we spend more money there to give you the capability. Can I address any questions? It's a lot of talking.
Yeah, anybody? Anything quick? I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I think that all of council understands and appreciates everything you've done, and this sounds very attractive to us. I mean, it sounds very attractive to me specifically. The number is the number, and we understand that, and that's a tough nut to swallow.
Agree.
Everybody knows we only have about an $8 million budget. We're talking about a $4 million project. So, that's a tough nut to swallow right off the bat, and we've got to figure that out. I think what we really need to do, council and Van, some direction here. I'd like to see this on a workshop where we can talk about what does a partnership look like? What can we legally do as a governmental agency, and how can we partner with a nonprofit?
organization.
How can we both own a building, or does it just a memorandum of understanding and they own and we have use? Those are the kind of, I want to have open discussions at a workshop to kind of go over that. So can we take this to that step so that we can take a look at, we've got to figure out how to do it, because I think we all want to do it. We have no idea how to do it at this
Well,
moment.
the reality is, if we have a commitment from the town working with us, that will help us raise funds, number one.
Right.
Okay? Doing grants, applications, as the town opens up a whole series of things directly that way. And how it structures, we want the end result to work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So it may be the town owns the land and we've got to come up with the funds to build a building or whatever. Time will tell what secret recipe we can come up with. But the first step is requesting that acknowledgement that the town will work with us so we can start to promote it and figure out whatever team we need to have to bring it to fruition.
So Van, what's your thoughts on how we move forward?
That sounds like a great topic for the retreat. I think you're not going to be able to flesh a lot of this out at a traditional workshop, and you have time. We do retain the services of a grant writing consultant, so I mean, there's an opportunity there to at least start exploring what
We
there
can
may
start
be there.
exploring grants.
Because the reality is, you've just committed $3 million of your, a little over $4 million borrowing capacity to resurface roads, so you don't have
We have no
the
borrowing
capacity yet.
We had to make some decisions on privatization of assets and what we were gonna do, new town hall, roads, something like this, and we had to get onto our roads. So,
I agree with Van.
all right, so let's move it to the retreat
Yes.
and figure out some mechanisms.
No, like, so the point is, we are committed. We
We
just
are,
gotta figure out.
yeah, we gotta figure out the
how it
mechanism
works.
at this point.
Well, it's-
So
What does
the-
that look like, you know?
Well, I appreciate that comment, very much so. And on behalf of the board of the foundation, thank you.
Yeah, no, this is
If-
exciting to see.
If there's anything we can do is a basic memorandum of understanding that we're working together towards something, even that will help us start the process.
Van, maybe you and them get together on some sort of that aspect of how we're gonna try to work together to give them something.
Right, I mean, what we can probably go ahead and do is go ahead and ask MRB to look into what is potentially available.
Okay?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
So we can give them some of that, we're looking into grants, and let's see what we can get together. We'll see how quickly we can get you something done.
Good. Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you, Peter, thank you for the
Appreciate your
information, thanks for the
patience.
history
Yep.
on that aspect, and remember, all your members who volunteer, thank them for us.
Thank you all.
As well. Before I go on to the next item, there was somebody's phone who was dinging, please make sure you turn off your phones. So, thank you, and next item is University of South Carolina. Jim, thanks for driving down.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Jim Hunter. I'm the chair of the Department of Theater and Dance at the University of South Carolina. I'm here to talk to you about an outreach program we have started. It's been 5 years now in the making. And the core of this outreach program is that with the realization that all over South Carolina, in every community, great art is being created every day. Today, someone in Port Royal was in a dance class. Someone made some piece of art. In Lake City, someone's making art tomorrow. In Denmark, in Salkehatchie, all over our city, all over our state, there's art being created. And we would like to come into partnerships with communities like yours to bring some of our students and some of our skill sets to your community, to be on the stage with our students, to highlight the arts in your community. And so can we play this quick?
Do sound or no sound?
There should be sound.
Should
Click on this.
Is it? Yeah.
I'm gonna build that here.
we have the first slide of the PowerPoint?
Give me one second.
So the festival stage that you just saw is an investment in the university. It's $300,000. It's been built in Maryland. It can be assembled and disassembled and go in residencies. It's designed to last 15 years. It's for outdoor use. You can see we had a production just this past September of Midsummer Night's Dream on the festival stage. And we also, and I'll show you in a second, we also did a production on it in Washington, D.C. earlier in the summer. It was there in Washington for the summer. So our ideal is to go out into communities and perhaps bring a dance company with us to perhaps bring our theater program or some music, and to have a festival in your community with your local high school band, with your local dance companies, and we would maybe do some workshops and things like that. So that's our outreach program. We're already going to be going to Lake City next April to do an installation there, and we'd like to talk about having your bicentennial, I think, the year after that. So this is another little video. Let's just skip this video because you've seen the festival stage. This is on our campus. USC campus. Okay, so we installed this, and this is another picture. Let's go one more. So this was our production of Midsummer Night's Dream. We are going to be producing different shows depending on what the needs of each community are. They can be full-blown shows or shorter productions. They don't have to be Shakespeare. The festival stage is designed to be multifaceted. Let's see the next one. So we did not produce at night, but this is what it looked like. We had the rehearsals at night. And the stage is 46 feet across, and it's designed specifically to be able to put an entire orchestra on it. Also wide enough to do dance. So we have a ballet company in our in our program. And it's weatherproof, and it's rated at, hurricane rated. I think it's, what is it? It's 115 miles per hour, I think, the wind. Go ahead, next. Just another couple of shots of it at night. Next. Okay, this is a real quick little video. Let's see if it'll run. Just give it a second here. Here we go. Okay, it takes 3 days to assemble and 3 days to take apart. We're hoping the residencies would be probably over 2 weekends, with a weekend where we'd be rehearsing with your local community people, and the next weekend would be the festival or whatever the event would be. I think the team is 12 with 1 supervisor, and the local, it can be local. The supervisor is the only person that has to be skilled. We're getting better and better at putting it together. First time we put it together, it took 5 days. Okay, hit the space bar. Hit the space bar. Okay, that's great. So thank you. So you can see sort of what the scope of it is. We would like for you to consider us having this come during your anniversary season. This is a picture of it here. This is the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. This is where we premiered the facility, and it's a beautiful facility if you've ever been in there. And this was a production of Midsummer Night's Dream with an all-professional cast. The project's been about 4 years in the making. Go ahead. I thought that was all the pictures. Oh, this is okay. Okay, one more quick. This is a clip of our students acting on the stage. These are all undergraduates. Oh, you can't hear. So we're going to, we would like to design whatever the production that we would be bringing to fit your needs. It could be, for instance, a 30-minute short show or a full-length Shakespeare, or like a shortened Romeo and Juliet. But but also I was telling Pamela that also we could do combat classes and things like that with students and people from your area. We really want to tailor it to each local community and their strengths. We definitely would like to have dance and also music involved. And then also, for instance, having crafts, having local vendors being able to sell items of art, items on the site for the audiences. Okay, and that's our little presentation. Do you have any questions?
So how would you envision this to work?
Yeah. How would it work?
How do you envision it to work? So during our celebration?
Yes.
During
your present. You're during your.
Go ahead.
During your 150th anniversary. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to probably. My understanding is that there's going to be events throughout the year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I think that working with your people, we would come up with one event where we would come in and do, whatever you think is going to be a critical weekend in March. I think is it March is the
April.
It's in April. Is it April? Right. So good enough for it to. It's late enough for it to be good weather. We could do it outside. You could do it at night, but I think mostly we'd do it outside in the daytime. We would come down here and we would visit with the arts organization to find out what they have, what they want to do, how they want to highlight their messages, your messages, right? And we would probably pick a production of some sort that would, if not, would probably have to fit into our overall season. But I think we could tailor it to a message or something that would maybe relate to the theme of or the time period or something that had to do with your festival. Or we could do smaller vignettes or smaller things, or we could do original works. Definitely we could do some dance that would be related to your historic period, without a doubt. And also, we have, one of the best music schools in the country. They're interested in maybe coming down, if you're interested in them having them on the stage. But also, it's not, we just want to make sure that it's a collaboration between your organization and us. We want to listen to what you want to do, and then we would bring in, a music ensemble that would be there to serve the local high school program, right? And do a workshop with them while they were here, those kind of things. So we really want it to be, that's our number one goal, is to highlight the art that's being created here in your community. That's number one. It's not about us coming down to show you how it's done. That's just not what we want to do, right? So it would be, we have 2 years to figure it out, right?
2 years to figure it out.
Right, that's, so we're, our first thing at Lake City, it's going to be in April, and we're already working. I've been meeting with them tomorrow, starting to talk about how, what the show's going to be, what's the length and all those kind of things. So we're going to work on tailor it to them. So
great idea.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say thank you. I mean, Port Royal's got a rich history.
I like it.
Art hub. So thanks for bringing that to us. So just to get on the birthday celebration year.
Yes.
You said it gets set up one weekend, and then performed. Then the next weekend is essentially a festival with just the use of it.
Yeah, I mean okay. Again, we tailor to what you want to do, but when we it takes 3 days to assemble. You need to rehearse on it, so that would be the first weekend, and your people would be off from their jobs and all that, and then we would then be dormant or just doing work, and then we'd have a festival that you could have, and it's up to you what you want to do, but you can charge admission, not charge admission. We don't care. We're there to make your artist have a showplace, and for us to also, we're recruiting students is what we're doing, right? Do you know, right? And serve and doing our service mission, right? So that's really what we want to be doing. So 2 weekends seems about right. Right? Do you know, just, right? It's, maybe 10, 12, I don't know, 14, 16 days, something like that. Right? And again, it takes 3 days to put it together, and take it apart. And it will withstand any weather. So, anyway.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
That's a great idea. I think we've got a lot to ponder over how we can make this one work. And
Yeah,
we
got
haven't
2
even
years to figure it out.
started
It should be
thinking
easy.
about the
We got 2
celebration.
years, and we're learning. Like I said, we've only put it together twice. Right? So, and we're learning. I think we're here to help you.
No, that's great.
Thank you. I like that idea.
That's really bringing
Okay.
this tree forward.
Very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing him down.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
we're looking forward to that.
How much
Next-
space do you need for the audience in the set?
Right, well, we got to start thinking,
Talk later.
yeah, what's the size of that stage, so that we can figure out where it goes, we got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you so much. Next item then, council briefing.
Yeah, we'll go through this. First item is, just want y'all to know, we've kind of kicked off the Reimagine Rebo kind of discussions with obviously Port Royal, City of Beaufort, and Beaufort County working together on the concept or how we envision the future of Rebo Road, basically from Boundary Street to the Bell Bridge. Noah and I attended that first set of meetings, and we discussed the tool study that we had put together, as well as the Rebo Road economic development study that we have just recently finished. So they are very aware of our thoughts. Obviously, we articulated them our concerns about it being the primary truck route and being kind of a dividing line between the town, and so we wanted to make sure that that is addressed in that scope of work and potential solutions. So it's still very early. I did include in your folder the kind of the timeline for the work product. So we'll have other opportunities to interface. Noah, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, you covered.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. So I just wanted y'all to know we just kicked that off. Redevelopment Commission, they did also receive a presentation on that corridor study. They're going to come back to y'all with some recommendations on how we can address or incentivize some redevelopment along that corridor. We've obviously talked to most of the significant property owners. We're even looking into some of what was formerly called the Port Royal Pride Program to address maybe some facades for some of the businesses located along that corridor. They're also looking at maybe some sort of overlay to address how projects could be pushed through at that time. So, Accommodation Tax Committee, wanted to make you all aware of this because we finally exceeded that $50,000 threshold for local accommodation tax. We're going to have to stand up our own advisory committee for the expenditure of those funds. Obviously, there's some discretion built into the way the ordinance is written. There's I think it's 65, 30, and then a 10, the whole breakout up to about 100%. And they will have a pot of dollars that they will be able to evaluate applications and how those dollars would be spent. So we'll be working through that process after the beginning of the calendar year. Tree protection, I'm not going to cover because Noah's going to get into that a little bit later. Spanish Moss Trail, I know that we've been awaiting comments and at least approval from the Department of Transportation. I think we received their notes back. I don't think they were too discouraging, but obviously there's some additional things that we need to get into place to ensure that we can get the Spanish Moss Trail across Rebo Road. I mentioned later in this, the briefing, some grants that I've been pursuing. We did put together a $2.4 million grant that would address some of the sections of the Spanish Moss Trail that need continuation on this side, but it also incorporates getting people to the pathway on the other, the trail on the other side of Rebo, which would address Drayton, West Vine, Lenora, and why am I drawing
Battery
right from the
Park.
other street? Yeah, Battery Park, and it's going to create a safe network of roads to get people to the Spanish Moss Trail so they can actually cross over. So we just sent that one in, so I'll keep you posted as we make progress. Safe Harbor, obviously, we're going to discuss a little bit later the potential land swap. I think we have a discussion tomorrow about some other moving parts, and hopefully I'll be able to brief y'all after the first of the year about any additional progress that they're making. I left the Rebo Road corridor study in there just as by way of mentioning that the Reimagine Rebo group discussion, as well as what the Redevelopment Commission is potentially proposing. Sands Beach, our attorney is reviewing the intergovernmental agreement between ourselves and Beaufort County. where they would continue to do ongoing maintenance. They did repair the boat landing, and obviously, we intend to take ownership of that boat landing, running parallel to the passage of the IGA. We obviously redid the parking lot. The county's redone the boat landing, as I mentioned, and now we're discussing how we formalize that relationship. I think it was obviously important that, Safe Harbor did not need to own that boat landing, which we discovered during the title research process, so I think we've cleaned that up. I know Dave Tedder's in here, and he worked on that, so if I'm wrong, David, please correct me. Duck blinds, I'm just leaving that in there. Obviously, it's working much better since we switched over vendors for the management of duck blinds, but we still monitor it.
Yeah, but Ben, we can't just skip over that. Thank you so much for taking the time to figure out that the problem was really who we were using.
Yeah.
And finding the right person and getting that corrected for the community in that aspect. So thank you and the staff for taking that extra step to figure that one out.
Yeah. Codes, since we've added another code enforcement officer, y'all see in the reports the uptick in activity. Just wanted to make y'all aware of it. And we're having to visit some places by boat to address code issues, so that's why that was included in there.
That was a surprise to some people that we went out there.
Yes, it was.
Very
It was
good.
quite a surprise. We did discover a yoga class on a floating dock, which was intriguing. But anyways.
That's not a code violation, it's just.
No, it was just interesting. It's like visiting Fantasy Island, I guess. Shrimp dock, we're still moving forward with the seizure of the final two boats. We did discover one of the things is that we're only required to provide custodial duties within the corporate and waters of the state of South Carolina. So we may have the option of relocating those boats while we can start the demolition of the dock so that we can start construction. So we're talking to the contractor that may roll that up into his scope of work to relocate those boats while the federal process works itself out. So we have some options.
That's a new.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
It was prompted by something I said to the lawyer, which he will never repeat, and so he did a little more research.
Thank you again for pushing the buttons.
Yes. CDBG projects, obviously Royal Palms is moving along pretty well. They're moving at a pretty good clip where I think the contractor's doing a great job. We've met on site, evaluated the trees there to make sure we do certain things. I know there was an issue with garbage and recycling services just because of access, but I talked to Jerry a couple of days ago and he verified that they did get things picked up in a more regular schedule.
They've made the turn off of Royal Palms and they're
Yeah.
heading down Smiles.
Yeah. Paris Avenue, we're going to look at some phasing. Obviously, we're still in you've seen, this is like somebody referred to Paris Avenue, I think with Jolie, as the most surveyed street in all of America right now because you've probably seen Atlas crews all over the place.
Yes.
But we will be discussing kind of the phase 2 and phase 3 a little bit later in the meeting. The next was just the rundown. I did mention the federal grant that we applied for the transportation enhancements. The other two, we're still waiting word that were through the infrastructure dollars that we all received. We got a subsequent question, so we're not out of the running. As a matter of fact, they got so many applications, I got an email today indicating that they've extended the review period so that make sure they're evaluating all the projects. We have updated the capital projects. We were supposed to have a call tomorrow, but we've canceled that because we don't need it. Brooke's going to kind of update that spreadsheet and circulate it to all of y'all on the capital projects. I did include in the folder as well a kind of an updated priority list on the road impact fees. Those of us in the northern part of the county got together to discuss those. Understanding that, the cost of all those projects on the list well exceed whatever we would collect in impact fees. So, this understanding there'll be a contribution level to this project from impact fees, but there are obviously several different pots of money that will be used to address that. Obviously, one of the significant ones is that Rebo Road work, and that's got a pretty significant price tag associated with that, but we've moved that forward. And that's all I've got, but I'll answer any questions.
Council, questions for Ben? I'm good.
No question.
I think the one thing, the Spanish Moss Trail one, I think I saw some correspondence that I think that the Friends have asked the county, are you concerned with any of the comments? I think that was the last thing. Engineers, can we meet these comments and move on? So I think we're getting so close. We really wanted to be out to bid by the end of the year. We're so close. We're so close. We may make it, we may have to move into next year. We're going to move on. I'm going to open it up for public comment for items that are on the agenda tonight. I have a couple that was submitted. Wendy, is that tree or is that different?
I just, the NPC, you've got a rezoning on your agenda.
Come on up.
There was a rezoning request that we heard at the last NPC meeting. It's that lot on 7th Street, next to where the yoga place is. And we unanimously recommended that you deny the rezoning. And the reason was that as it is currently zoned, there are, in fact, I have the list with me if you really want to know all the things that are permitted under the current zoning. There are a lot of commercial uses as well as residential uses permitted under the current zoning. We're having a hard time figuring out why the property should be rezoned Main Street. And the only thing would be a height. He could go up 4-story. I don't know if it's a he, but go up 4 stories. Also, the planning director, Noah, did recommend that we deny the rezoning.
Okay. So for council, that's first reading, item A, that is referenced in the agenda tonight. Thank you, and thank you for your service on the MPC. Todd McDaniel? Welcome, Todd.
Yeah, I'm here to address that issue on 711 7th Street. Here to waylay any concerns that we have intentions of building a 4-story structure. We're looking at a 3-story structure, looking for it to be rezoned from T4 to T5 for parking spaces. We need the extra parking. Plan on having a professional area on the first floor and 2 flats above it. That's all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Anybody have questions?
What's the parking issue?
With the building design and the size of the lot, only allows for 2 parking spots.
Okay.
And if you've got a professional area on the bottom and then 2 apartments above, you're just not enough parking. And T5 would allow for, I think, 3 more spots.
Okay.
Thank you. Jesse, are you good? You went over the 2-minute limit before. We give you a lot of leeway.
I appreciate
You put
it.
it under both here.
There was one word I just wanted to say that I underlined and I didn't say it, and that is that these resources are irreplaceable, so
Okay.
please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Anybody else have any comment on any agenda items tonight? If not, we'll move into, come on. Please.
I'm Eileen with the Historic Port Royal Foundation, and I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the board for your enthusiasm and excitement about our new project. Like you, I almost fell over when I first heard the numbers, so you weren't alone in your shock. But we really do appreciate, and we really do want to partner with you guys, because your success is our success, and our success is yours. And also, our history is what keeps Port Royal from being far from ordinary.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, I don't think it was as much a shock or like, oh, how do we do that?
Yeah, right. And I know this is just a quick update. The Christmas Tour of Homes was a smashing success. We sold 185 tickets. We got nothing but absolutely positive comments. Particularly, everyone was very excited about hearing the history of the buildings and the history of the residents that lived in those buildings, and there were 10 historic buildings and homes that were on the tour. 2 were new builds. And we had a couple from Charleston that go to all the Charleston tours and said ours was the best tour they had ever been to, and that's a high compliment from our sister city there, Charleston. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that the tour was a great success, and we do plan to do another one next year.
Well, thank you
As a
again for
kickoff
putting
to the
that on.
150th.
One thing I thought was talking about the tour was how many people came from other places
Yes.
here. I thought it would be just local Port Royal people riding around golf carts, and you said people from Aiken, Columbia.
Bluffton, Hilton Head, Charleston, I mean, they came from all over, so apparently online media really does work.
It does work. We're good.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to second readings. Our second reading is ordinance 2022-14, an ordinance to provide economic tax incentive in the town of Port Royal. We've had first reading and public hearing. Any further discussion? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Just a quick question, double check. I might have already asked you. So are these incentives automatically triggered? Or is there a mechanism where it's at the discretion of town manager or council? Or is it just if you spend X amount of dollars, you get them automatically?
So you would have to apply,
Apply.
use the application, and then it would either go to town manager or his designated staff member.
Okay, so there's a
Criteria.
discretion there, it's not, doesn't just automatic click
Correct.
in. Do we see any issues that for some reason we gave them to somebody and didn't give them to somebody else and, you know?
We would have to keep a certain parameter that we'd be uniform for everyone.
Okay.
It's just
Exactly.
I think they're laid out. Yeah. I think criterias are in there.
Criterias are in there, exactly, so.
It's more about the form is more about making sure that the proper mechanism is put in place, so they get the incentive.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the criteria is laid out. So what's the pleasure of council?
I make a motion that we adopt 2022-14.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Readability, guys.
Next item of business is ordinance 2022-15, an ordinance to annex to the town of Port Royal approximately 9.64 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 100, map 31, parcel 123 and 38W, located at 463 and 571 Paris Island Gateway. Noah?
Yeah, thank you. This annexation request involves two parcels. They're outlined in pretty dark green on this screen, but I tried to make it brighter. The larger parcel is the Sky City Shopping Center, which is currently storage facilities in the existing building, and the frontage is being used for food truck rentals, space rentals at this time. The adjacent lot across Oakview Drive is the home of Ricky's Heating and Air currently. They are both requesting under this petition to be annexed into the town. The Sky City property, they are proposing that the frontage be T4UC and the existing storage facility be T4 NCO under our zoning. The applicant would also be proposing a subdivision of the frontage of that lot so that they can sell off the parking lot, basically, that is not currently part of this, not the entire parking lot, but the front half of it that's not currently storage facility. So we would not have any concerns of the storage facility expansion, use expanding to the highway. The zoning on the smaller property, the Ricky's property, is also proposed to be T4 NCO. That just simply fits the existing use and form of the neighborhood that it's in. So the lots around it are all single family. The lot that Ricky's is on fits that ranch style form of the single family residences around it. And T4 NCO allows that broader variety of commercial service and office uses that the Ricky's is already one of. So it just makes sense to designate it as such. I think I went into the annexation instead of the zoning, so if you don't mind, I'll hit both of them at the same time. I hit the subdivision, I hit the zoning. Let me see what else I have here. The self-storage will continue on the rear of the property. They do have plans to install liner buildings that will actually give it its final form, allow us to say, okay, this is it. Let's get something here on the highway that is a little prettier than metal buildings along a parking lot. And Ricky's will remain as is, and staff will complete calculations for Burton Fire District compensation if the annexation does go through. So,
very good. And it was recommended by the Metro.
I'm sorry, thank you, yes. Yeah, unanimous recommendation here from the MPC.
But they're absolutely within the growth boundary.
Correct.
Any questions for Noah? We've heard this one twice.
No, I think this is great. We talk about encouraging commercial development along those thoroughfares. I know it's not Rebo, but it's the extension of Rebo. It connects to Rebo, so I think
And to that point, I did not mention it, but there's our future land use map actually from about Oakview Drive down to Grover Hill Road is designated as a future mixed-use node. So the more we can kind of guide commercial development there is a great thing, because we have a large amount of residential development coming on Grover Hill Road as well.
Any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve 2022-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? It's unanimous. We're going to go right into the next ordinance, which is the zoning of the property. We've already heard the explanation, so that is ordinance 2022-16. Same piece of property, and the zoning has been explained. What's the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve 2022-16.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thanks, Noah. Items, I need a motion to remove item D and E, as the applicant packet is not complete.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're going to move on to item F, ordinance 2022-19, an ordinance to regulate the digging of holes at Sands Beach in the town of Port Royal. And this is a second reading. We've had our first reading, and we've had our public hearing on that. What's the pleasure of council?
I move that we approve ordinance 2022-19.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think there's been a lot of discussion. In fact, this has been a lot of conversation on the street as well.
Yep.
And I think we're doing this also for the best interest and safety and welfare, and also limit liability from the town. I've gone out there, and I can't tell you the number of pictures that I've taken, but I'm telling you, it concerns me when you see people there's holes that are waist deep. And anything could give with that water filtrating into there could happen, and then again, it does not totally exempt the town from liability. So we're looking at it as also a preservation of our beach, our resources, and also protecting the town from liability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're not covering those holes back up. That's the problem, too.
Yeah, the
which is
government,
a
they're not doing it
bad
right.
thing.
There's no compaction, so.
I mean, I love to see the people out there, but again, we have to look at it from that aspect.
Oh, yeah.
The environmental concerns, and also the welfare and
Safety.
and the safety and liability.
Yeah, some of them have been 4 foot.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Next item of business is item G, ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance to repeal and replace the entirety of chapter 20 trees for the code of ordinance for the town of Fort Royal, South Carolina.
All right, so I've kind of gone over the highlights previously at first reading, but with the changes that we've made, I'd like to clarify the highlights to make them even more highlighted. So, just for some background, we as a group, whom all of which you've heard of or heard from tonight, decided to model this new ordinance after the town of Hilton Head's existing tree protection ordinance, and then mold it into what is desired by the town. So some of the things that we've added or strengthened, first, we added a purpose and intent section at the beginning of this ordinance. So the first thing that any developer, builder, resident, prospective resident sees when they read this ordinance is why we care so much for our trees and how the standards in this ordinance benefit everybody, whether that be public health, ecological systems, the efficiency of our built environment as far as stormwater and runoff and so forth. That's just a few of the examples. Some of the things that are strengthened in this ordinance: first, we require a tree permit for the removal or pruning of any tree 6 inches diameter or more. So that just gives staff more oversight. I think the intent has always been for us to be able to have those discussions about every single tree and what needs to stay and what can come out. But this gives us that ability to really say, you must seek our approval, single-family homeowner, large site developer, whatever it may be. You must propose it to us before you decide that I'm going to remove or prune.
No, just so that, for clarification, there's going to be a lot of back and forth on this because we did not hold a workshop on this final document. which is different than we normally pass ordinances like this. So we're gonna either have to take the time now, or we're gonna have to postpone this thing to do a workshop. So let's start with that first question. When you say pruning on something 6 inches and over, I'm a homeowner, and there's a branch of 1 inch diameter that's hanging down, and they wanna cut that off on an 8 or a 10-inch tree, they have to get a permit for that?
They need to come to town hall, submit the application, and we will have our certified arborist, Michael Murphy, review what the need is for the pruning. And from there, we can approve or deny the pruning. 9 times out of 10, we're going to approve it because it's maintenance that's required for the health of that tree.
Okay.
And it could be property, their own property maintenance needs. Doesn't have to be just for the health of the tree. There are other reasons for removing portions of a tree or all of a tree that aren't.
I can envision people, branch starts hanging down, they hit it in the head when they walk under there, they want to
Sure.
prune it up. But if it's larger than 6 inch, they've got to come and get a permit for that. Okay?
As written currently, correct. Any other questions on that point? Okay. The next thing that is required, that has not been previously required in our tree ordinance, is a tree permit for underbrushing on development sites. As it's written right now, that is seeking approval from the town for underbrushing of any site. The intent there is for the town to have discretion to say, okay, this is a large development site. We would like you to retain your understory vegetation so that we can review what's there, have you make holistic decisions on what needs to be retained so that there is not just a healthy tree canopy, overstory trees, but understory vegetation, whether it be shorter trees that are within that forested area or wooded area on a site, shrubs down to ground cover. That's the intent there. It is all encompassing right now, so that, just take that into consideration.
So this will be regulating trees under 6 inches?
Yeah, well, it'll be regulating everything.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
On an undeveloped site.
On an undeveloped site.
Okay. So where I'm going in my head here again is neighbor calls about a lot that doesn't look nice, and codes enforcement goes out and says you cut the grass. We can't do that anymore. They have to now come in and get
The question is, what is considered
what is grass,
underbrushing
what
and
is
what is maintenance of
underbrushing?
an
And
undeveloped lot?
How are we defining that?
Yeah, so underbrushing I would only consider underbrushing as defined in the ordinance as something on an undeveloped lot.
Okay.
Undeveloped lot.
Okay.
And that's the way that it reads in the ordinance. I believe the exact heading of the section is underbrushing on undeveloped lots.
And the definition is the removal of small trees, bushes, and ground cover growing beneath the larger trees on a site.
So do we need to add any verbiage in there for undeveloped site?
I think you're gonna have to.
I think, yeah. Somebody's gonna need, if we're gonna, I know everybody wants us to pass this tonight, and I'm gonna make this statement right now. I know that, and I know, you know that we wanted to do something, but I am absolutely feeling rushed. I wanna make that statement now, that I am feeling rushed. This is a very big document. We've had a short amount of time. It's not your fault. No, we're not. You guys have done amazing to get us to this point. This is a major change. And if somebody's gonna have to start keeping a list of things that if we make a motion, that we're gonna have a large list of things that may need to get added or changed. And we're not getting to this document was changed as early as this week. And, we're all trying to read this and do it. And we have a council member who's very interested in this, who had a medical issue, who can't be here tonight as well. Taking that into consideration as well. I want to keep going through this, but I just want to make that statement. I know everybody, we tried our darndest to get it done by the end of the year. But let's see what happens tonight. Mary Beth, you had something to add?
Yeah, if we don't, could we not put a moratorium on for that
That's
30
the question.
days?
That's what I've been thinking
So,
about.
because I think the concern is that the big developers will come in and develop something before it gets passed.
Is there an ability for us to do that?
Is that not correct, Wendy?
You could do something
Is that right?
conceivably tonight, and by the time you were challenged on it, you would have given it second reading in January anyway.
So we could do a moratorium. We could pass, but as part of this and not passing this, we can then make a motion to do some sort of a moratorium on any permits submitted?
I don't,
Can you
let
think
me
about
just-
that a little bit while we keep going? Well, hold on, please. Allow council to step for a moment here.
I would really prefer to have our lawyer weigh in on that.
You want to get him on the phone?
Well, here's the reality of it. If you pass something this evening, basically right now, okay? If somebody were to challenge you on the legality of that, the likelihood of it being heard in front of a judge prior to you considering second reading of this ordinance, January 11th, I believe, would probably be fairly remote.
Right, especially over the holidays. So if we pass some sort of a moratorium, a 30-day moratorium on any permits for trees. I'm struggling with the homeowner maintaining their yard versus a development. A moratorium on any new development. Do it on the new, okay. Let's keep going through this a little bit here, just so that we can get some of these things and we can hear this. And let's decide where we are at the end of hearing it. Council, you okay with going through it some more?
Yes, let's continue.
Kevin, Maribeth, good? Let's keep going through it.
Sure.
Sounds like we know.
Ben, my next point is on that table with the sizes of specimen and landmark trees, if you could show that for a moment.
Yeah, let me get it there.
That's it, yep. One of the other things that's added is the prohibition of removal of landmark trees without two things. The first is a recommendation, one way or the other, from a staff committee, which would be comprised of the planner, the arborist, the building official, and who am I missing? The architect, would give a recommendation to the design review board, which is who this group is recommending be the review body for tree removals that are outside the scope of this ordinance. So with a recommendation from that staff committee, the design review board would hear and consider a waiver for removal of landmark trees. Otherwise, no matter the site, no matter the units that a developer needs, that would not be approved without that waiver from a board.
So if a single-family residential lot, house built, had either a specimen or a landmark water oak on it, and they want to remove it, what happens?
Say a single-family homeowner had a 45-inch water oak. Landmark size, prohibited by the current proposed language to be removed just by staff approval. They would need to apply to the design review board, which say it's the first of one, or the middle of 1 month that they want to remove this tree. They need to get their application in and not be heard until the first Thursday of the following month. During that time, they are not able to touch that water oak despite its size. Currently, the exemption for removal of trees would only apply if it's due to a natural disaster. So it could be deemed dangerous, but it would still need to be heard by the design review board.
Why water oaks? Why were water oaks put back? We all know that they just are dangerous.
I am not an arboriculture professional. I can't speak to that. We have one here. If you have any comment on that, Michael.
I agree at some point that all the trees that we have, the water oak is probably like one of the poorest quality trees that are out there. But without an inspection of that tree, you can't really just negate an entire species of trees and say, well, you can take out all the water oaks. The water oak is very close to a laurel oak. They're not all bad.
It's just so many of them, I've seen so many of them surprise people, where they look so solid.
Yeah.
And a storm comes through, and the next thing you know, the darn thing splits wide open, it was hollow on the inside, and half a house is gone.
Well, I think the intent is to have a more professional set of eyes look at it and deem it
dangerous.
Deem it dangerous. Yeah. Whether it be the homeowner or the builder, it brings in an assessment on it that says it's a high-risk tree, then absolutely you would need to come out. We're not looking to save every tree in the world or every tree in the town of Port Royal, but we are, we do want to make sure everything gets looked at some point.
Even, and the sweet gum was the other one I was kind of wondering about.
Should there be an exemption or exception because of that, if it is a value? Right now, there's not one. If it's
Sweet gum's on the list.
Sweet gum and black gum on the list?
Sweet gum and black gum are both on the list. It's the last one on the list, on the document I have, it's the last one.
Yeah, and then black gum's right above it.
Black gum and sweet gum are both on the list. Is that a scribe error?
No, I think that, we kept more trees. We actually raised the diameter that put it into a category from 24 to 36, so it would have to be a larger tree to have it put into that landmark category. But again, we didn't want to decimate the diversity of all the trees that are here just for a species of tree.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that, but, so let me ask you again a scenario, and this is a different way of doing our council meetings, but I apologize for that.
No problem.
So, but a scenario is, so we've got a 36-inch sweet gum or a 36-inch water oak, and there, around them are smaller live oaks. The developer's looking at that, and he sees that's a landmark, and I'm gonna save this sweet gum or water oak, and I'm gonna take down these live oaks. That is a potential in the way this is written, to not cut down a landmark and then possibly lose some 4- and 6-inch live oaks that have the potential to grow again in the future.
Correct.
Okay. That's good. You guys are gonna have to look really hard at this stuff to make sure something like that does not occur in that way. I mean, that's a scenario that runs through my mind. We got to really, really pay attention to what we're saying. Because it's in here as a landmark, they don't want to cut it down because there's a financial impact to them. But are we doing it in that way, and we're not allowing some smaller live oaks to grow, or some other good specimen trees to grow, to say what we know may not be the greatest tree to keep?
The one thing I would add to that, to the nuance of that, is just that because there are supplemental and replacement plantings, which I haven't gotten to yet, required.
Right.
Supplemental being whatever your base number of inches of trees on the site is, you must plant a percentage of that blanket. Does not matter. And then on top of that, there's replacement for trees that are removed. So potentially, ideally, we would be saying, okay, you're removing these smaller live oaks from underneath the canopy of a larger landmark because they won't grow through, but you can plant back other live oaks elsewhere that are a similar diameter.
Great conversation. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else on that?
Just on the exemptions, we don't include anything if it just says removal of a damaged, protected tree following a natural disaster, such as hurricane, tornado, ice, or windstorm, flood, wildfire, or any other such act of nature. But Michael referred to if it's deemed dangerous, because it's been evaluated.
Right.
I mean,
that would go through the permitting process.
Yeah, but would it have to be mitigated?
Would it have to be mitigated?
Oh. I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is if it's deemed dangerous and they're taking it out, did the mitigation portion then apply to that single homeowner?
Well, sorry, I don't have the copy of the actual ordinance in front of me, just my talking points. So.
Did we come to
What?
just gonna ask, did we come to the conclusion that there was a way to put everything on hold and let's come back to it? It's crazy to be editing an ordinance while.
I agree with what Van said.
So let's make a motion. Let's
shut everything down.
By the time they go through the process, yeah.
Let's make a motion.
I support a second reading.
Moratorium. Hold on one second, no.
Sure.
My concern again is the individual residential lots and the pruning and that kind of
There's a
stuff
lot
right
in
now.
there. There's a lot in there.
Right, there's a lot in there. So if we were gonna just stop this right now, but prevent any new permits from being issued for development, then what we would need to put in place tonight then, I think, is a moratorium on any greenfield development that includes tree removal. Was that,
Or
for
at least-
30 days.
Or the approval.
The
tree
approval of
removal
any, the
approvals,
approval of any tree removal
Right.
because we could
on
still,
greenfield development for the next 30 days.
We work on this and come back.
And then we do a workshop specific on this, where everybody's got the document, and we go line by line and get as comfortable as can be and get a final draft to approve on January 11th.
Yeah, because I think that if we can do that, that's the best way to go about it. I think it's inappropriate for us to be editing an ordinance as we're voting on it.
Right, I just feel like we'll never get this motion right. I mean, and we'll be.
We'll be adding amendments.
Yeah.
As we're voting on the law this year. But
All right,
but we do want to
Van,
do
can
it.
I ask you a I'm gonna ask you something right now.
Okay.
All right? You can say no, okay? Can you take a minute and maybe think about drafting some sort of a motion?
Yeah.
And can I get a motion from council right now to table this till the end of the meeting? So we can move on with the rest of the agenda, bring it back out after we get some wordage towards a motion.
I make that motion.
We have a motion to table to the end of tonight's agenda only.
I'll support it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So all that does, so that everybody understands,
So
tabling
we
with
can
a
move on.
specific time frame says we must deal with it again tonight. We cannot end this meeting until we bring it back up. Okay? But it's gonna allow us to go back to our agenda and get the rest of the business done. Thank you, Noah. Appreciate all that you and the staff and the team have done. Let's keep this thing moving forward, and we're gonna get something done tonight.
We only have one left, though.
Okay, oh, we got first readings too. So, next, ordinance, 2022-21, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 Building and Building Regulations, Section 4-1, adopting a code by reference of the Code of Ordinance for the Town of Port Royal, South Carolina, to adopt the International Building Code with the South Carolina Building Code modifications. Pleasure, council.
I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2022-21.
We have a motion, do we have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to first readings. We have an ordinance 2022-22. Oh, great, I said it right, and with all those 22s in there. An ordinance to rezone approximately .11 acres of real estate described at Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 78, located in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T4 Neighborhood Center to T5 Main Street, located at 711 7th Street. Noah.
Sure, so, this is a rezoning request from T4 Neighborhood Center to T5 Main Street. The applicant has expressed intention to build an office building with residential space above. Some of the concerns that immediately come to attention are parking, first and foremost. I understand the applicant spoke during public comment. I wasn't quite following the parking requirement discussion that was going on there, so I'll just lay out for you what the standards are.
Okay.
First, for residential use, and this is a mixed-use building, so take that into account. For residential use, you're looking at one space per 1,500 square feet. That's the minimum. For an office use, you're looking at 2.5 spaces per 1,000 feet minimum. So if you have a 2,000 square foot office and you have 1,500 of residential above, you have 6 spaces that need to be provided for this building. The general standard is on site, but this lot is within 600 feet of on-street parking that already exists. So as far as zoning this up to T5 Main Street, the parking requirements don't make any difference. That's the same on both sides of the ball here.
Same
So
parking requirement, T5 or T4?
T4, T5. There's a maximum in T5, but the minimum is still the same.
Got it.
So in fact, you would not be allowed to go past a maximum in T5, and you could provide more in T4. So the other things that I wanted to point out here that are kind of on the good side of the coin, the future land use map in our comprehensive plan, as well as the Port Royal master plan that Dover Cole did in the late 90s, identify South Paris Avenue as the heart of our town. the main street of our town, even more fine-grained than Paris Avenue as a whole. So you do have to look at the future of this area of Paris Avenue, the south terminus, the future of the port development, take all those things into account when you consider we may expand a little bit from our core at Paris Avenue into the existing neighborhoods, but that still needs to meet the form of our existing neighborhoods. So those are all things that I'd like you to think about. Specifically, the green, the dark purple next to, I'm sorry, I said green, but I meant the dark purple next to the rezoning site is an open green space next to the customs building. So there is that opportunity for some kind of design that incorporates that green space as a civic space, whether it be private, but part of an existing business, and would allow, because in the past there have been proposals on that site next to the customs building that have been denied because you lose the aesthetics of the side of that customs building if you do construct something next to it. So there's this very tight design possibility that you could say, okay, we've got this open green space on the corner, we've got the customs building, which is a historic building and could potentially house something very interesting. Can we tie this property in so that it creates a corner of Main Street rather than fitting into the form of the residential street that it already exists on? That would take a lot of back and forth with staff and a developer, as well as I would guarantee you that I would take it to the design review board for their review and input. And so I don't want you to rely on that type of design possibility in your decision, is basically what I'm getting to. And then the final point that I'd like to make is just by right, the bulk and density with height, if you just think of the existing residences, story and a half on the existing street, it's difficult to see it fitting the form of that residential street. We have zoning in place that allows retail, office, service uses within our neighborhoods that fit in the form of the buildings that are already in our neighborhoods, and we have plans to expand. So, we have zoning in place that allows the expansion of bulk and density, and this is not one of those places necessarily it is indicated for that. So long story short, I think the full-time residents that live on this street would be certainly be impacted by this zoning change, and I think that should be taken into account as well. And I think that I've covered everything that I had there.
And the MPC recommended?
Yeah, MPC recommended denial unanimously.
Okay.
And you said though that, because we've talked about that before, being like that entrance area into the port once that develops, so we anticipate, you said, commercial expanding out from that at some point.
So nobody can hear me if I walk over there, but just in general, this is the terminus of Paris Avenue. This is where people will be entering and exiting if they are using the marina services here. Just the concept plans that we've seen from Safe Harbor, very rudimentary concept plans in discussions, have shown that this could be an intersection or 6th and 7th, two intersections that are busy, that are a commerce center for the town or branching out into commerce centers. So I don't think it's unreasonable that there be a more intense use with a denser building on this lot. I don't think it's necessary to achieve what we want in this location.
You good?
So it's okay, but not necessary.
Right.
You got it.
Yeah, right. That's
But
what I was.
MPC
Well,
voted
I'd like to hear from
against it.
the applicant too, more.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like there was some confusion on
Yeah.
why you're pushing.
Yeah, I will
for it.
clarify before, if you
Yeah.
want to have the applicant come up. We have not had any conceptual discussions of the design of this
Gotcha.
site. So we haven't had that back and forth between staff.
Right, and we have to always remember, zoning is not for it's not for this project. Once we zone it, we gotta remember, it becomes Main Street, and there's an entire list of things that could happen if this project fails.
I understand that.
There's always, we have a large percentage of stuff that come before us that don't ever get built. We gotta be very cautious about that piece.
And that's why I'm Just thinking
Yeah.
about the zoning, and like as we said, that as that area expands out and becomes more commercial and.
Until we see, you know, I'm a little bit, but let's wait till we get into discussion. We'll wait till we get into discussion before I state my thing. Any other questions for Noah before he steps away?
Nothing for Noah.
We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay. Would the applicant, sorry, Wendy, would the applicant come forward, please? A minute.
Our goal is just to enhance that whole area. Like I said, to have the professional area down there, we're looking for a way to not look so crowded. We need the extra parking. It's available, and that's what we're asking for. We're not asking for any.
So the parking's available under the current zoning, the way you just heard it?
But we're unclear as to where it's available, and we understand there's
On
parking. Pardon me?
On street and on property?
It's 600 feet away?
On street and
Within
on property.
600 feet, you can provide parking with existing on-street parking.
Okay, we were told that wasn't possible. But I don't know. That's why I'm here tonight, to find out.
Do you want to withdraw the application for right now, spend some more time with Noah, make a decision and come back?
I think that sounds good. All right. Thank you.
You want to withdraw it for now?
And we'll come back.
Okay, so we need a motion to postpone until it comes back before us.
So moved.
We have a motion to postpone, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Let them
Yeah,
talk
him and
about
Noah
this,
can
and then we
talk.
can decide what we want to do.
You're probably y'all will help him understand.
Yeah. Sorry, Wayne, I didn't mean to.
I just wanted to know if you want to know all the uses that are permitted.
Well, I think we're going to get all of that worked out now. Yeah, thank you. And that's exactly what the MPC should be looking at, and thank you for doing that. Okay, ordinance 2022-23, an ordinance to authorize the park swap as contemplated by the development agreement for the town of Port Royal and the property originally dated February 14, 2013, February 14, 2013, as amended on August 8, 2017, and July 4th, 2021, to further
July
authorize.
14th.
July 14th, 2021, to further authorize the acceptance in the deed of the park swap property from SHM Port Royal LLC and other matters related thereto. So, and we all understand what all that legal verbiage means. What you're seeing here on the screen, the purple and the green. The purple area is designated in the development plan as to be a park. The green is designated as residential development. We have been having conversations with Safe Harbor to swap these two pieces so that we turn the green into the park and they develop the purple as part of the rest of their facility that'll be wrapping around that. So that is the explanation that we have. And this is for the first reason.
These two properties.
These two
That's all we're
parcels.
talking about.
Swap. This satisfies the development agreement and puts this section, which there was a timeline on coming to some agreement on this one way or another. And this is within the timeline and meets all
And
that.
now we're not in the middle of their development.
We are not, the
In the
park will
middle,
not
right.
be in the middle of the development. The park will, so if you think about it in a way, Sands Beach now will extend all
On
the
this-
way up
on the
around.
round.
It'll be a Sands Beach Park. You'll have the upper wetlands, the grass, the trees, wrapping all the way down into the Sands Beach Park.
And like Councilman Owen said, I think it's, if you put a park there, then the purple space now, they would own around that park.
That is
And
correct.
no-
And that would be a boat yard
Yeah, exactly, around the
that.
park, yeah, so, they can make, yeah.
And then now this opens up opportunities also expanding probably a boardwalk from that park around to the Sands Beach.
Correct.
Well, I think that's,
And-
Moss Trail could come around
Right,
there.
and a boardwalk back to the boardwalk.
Right, right.
That was an interesting statement, but a boardwalk back to the boardwalk.
So we're getting 4.8 acres and giving them 2.3.
Correct.
Rather than seeing houses,
Development built.
houses building and knocking out that view, that beautiful view.
Correct.
Yeah, I think like you said, having that green, it'll really,
Yes.
gives us a lot of options going
Yes,
down
I
Sands
agree.
Beach Road into Sands, into the Sands.
Yeah, and
So-
we've talked about it for years about
Yes.
that, because
Let's make a motion.
the people did not want
Okay.
See
the
how-
homes on that side of the road.
We're
so.
good with it.
What's the pleasure, council?
I move that we approve ordinance 2022-23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. It's unanimous.
You did say August 8th.
Did I?
Yes, just.
Correction, I may have said August 8th. It's August 9th, 2017, that it was updated, just so it's official on the record. Thank you. Thank you. Read that enough times.
I know.
So many dates in there.
So the next item of business is a resolution, which I had in front of me, and I am looking for. There it is. Nope. It got out of place. Okay, so Resolution 7-20-22, a resolution to adopt the Southern Low Country Stormwater Design Manual as a supporting document to the Town of Port Royal Code. Whereas the Town of Port Royal desires to improve the general safety, welfare, health, and properties of the citizens of the Town of Port Royal, and whereas to establish the necessary provisions to accomplish the above, the Town of Port Royal has authorized to enact a resolution, ordinance, regulation, and procedures pursuant to South Carolina Code of Law 1976, Section 5-7-30, and whereas the Town of Port Royal Codes and Ordinance provides the guidance and requirement for the development within the Town of Port Royal through regulations set forth to protect and promote the health, safety, and welfare of the town's citizens as espoused? Sorry, I don't know that word. Through the provisions of the Town of Port Royal Comprehensive Plan and as authorized by South Carolina Local Government Comprehensive Planning Enabling Act of 1994, Title VI, Chapter 29, and the Codes of Law of South Carolina. And whereas the Town of Port Royal Code unifies the subdivision, land use, development, and design regulations, including stormwater design standards, into a single set of integrated, updated, and streamlined standard, and whereas the Town of Port Royal shall, from time to time, examine ordinances and supporting documents to ensure that they are properly regulated and enforced, sufficient to satisfactory of the needs of the community, and can further suggest changes as deemed appropriate, and whereas the understanding and the importance of the regional collaborative watershed-based approach and stormwater management, the Town of Bluffton, Port Royal, Yamasee, cities of Hardyville, Beaufort, and Beaufort, Jasper counties partnered with a consulting team with stakeholders and input to develop a model Southern Low Country post-construction stormwater ordinance and a Southern Low Country stormwater design manual based on the current state and knowledge of, and whereas the Town of Port Royal Zoning Code, Section 5.11.30, sets forth the application of stormwater manual, and whereas the Southern Low Country Stormwater Design Manual is in conformance with the Town of Port Royal Code and serves as a supplement to the Town of Port Royal Code to provide a standard design for stormwater management facilities, stormwater systems within the town, and whereas the Southern Low Country Stormwater Design Manual requirement for minor or redevelopment projects may be altered or determined on a case-by-case basis approved by the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Port Royal, South Carolina, follows that the Town Council hereby approves, confirms, and adopts the Southern Low Country Stormwater Design Manual, which is attached and incorporated as Exhibit A. So that is the resolution. It's a lot. Van, who has adopted the Soloco at this point?
Bluffton, Beaufort County, in our county. I'm not sure if Jasper and Hardyville have, but Hilton Head did not participate in these discussions.
Okay. City of Beaufort has adopted as well?
Yes.
Okay, good. Stop zoning shopping. What's the pleasure of council?
Move that we approve Resolution 7-2022.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The only thing is, town engineer has reviewed. He's good.
Shows unity with, among our neighbors.
Yep. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
You want me to cover this one next?
Van, you ready?
Yeah, obviously as part of the CDBG, we're looking at kind of an overhaul of Paris Avenue. One of the things we contemplate, obviously the scope of the dollars involved for phase one or the CDBG didn't go as far as we hoped they would go, particularly after we kind of ascertained what sort or how far we wanted to go with addressing Paris Avenue. So what I had Michael do was create a couple of phases, phase 2 and phase 3, of how we could potentially re-envision Paris Avenue. And what he's put together here is a scope of work for y'all to evaluate. And I believe in my description, I gave y'all a dollar amount that would cover the cost of covering phase 2 and phase 3. You know, you hear a lot about getting things shovel-ready in order to receive grants, and I think obviously this is one of those examples where we need to do that. As you can see, phase 2 and phase 3, phase 2 is $142,155, and phase 3 is $249,848. I know that we want to possibly revisit exactly what would be in this phasing, whether we want to widen sidewalks, address the planters in the middle of the road, but we would have an opportunity to do that. But this is the ball, this is how we get that process started.
Yeah, so what you're looking for action for us to approve the phasing plan.
Correct.
We're still gonna have opportunities to discuss what happens in each one of
Yes.
those phases.
Yes, sir.
Okay? What's the pleasure, of council?
I make a motion that we approve the Paris Avenue street improvements, phase 2 and 3.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion
So that's the 142, 155 that we're talking about?
for design.
And we're phase 2, are y'all just gonna do phase 2 or phase 3 also? Phase,
It was for phase 2 and 3. The motion is
That's
for
what it
phase 2
said.
and 3.
okay,
Is that what you want?
correct.
Yep. Now, the motion was for phase 2 and 3. We have a second. You good?
Yes,
Okay. No further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Next item
The next item
is our calendar.
is the calendar. You said it's in the folder.
Not in order.
Let's go here. Where's that? This one?
One of them wouldn't open, that's why I added the second.
Okay. Moment of truth here. There we go.
There we go.
Those are the workshop dates, and obviously they correspond.
Correspond with
the
the-
council meetings. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Tell me when to be here.
No. I have a motion to approve the 2023 calendar.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. That's how you get out meeting notices for all those? Thank you.
Already?
Oh, yeah, just get them on the calendar.
That's it.
That's the way to do it.
Is it in the folder?
Yeah, there's a folder.
Item C, looking forward to this one.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
See.
Approval of sidewalk construction bid.
So in the end of October, we put out a advertisement for RFP for sidewalk construction. This is 289 feet of repairs and 5,140 feet of new sidewalk construction. 5,140 feet of new sidewalk construction.
A mile of sidewalk
Yes,
in this zone.
correct.
Wow.
Okay?
So
Wanna make sure everybody heard that.
We're filling in gaps. We're also, residents that have come before council for sidewalk construction or the sidewalk ordinance, approval. Correct. This will, also, construct that as well. So, we had a mandatory pre-proposal meeting on November 7th where 2 contractors, came before us.
Here.
And on November 29th, we received 2 proposals, one from Joco Construction for $268,830, and Low Coast for $269,951. Based on my review of their proposals submitted, which is, I believe I gave you a tabulation on the information. I am making a recommendation that Joco Construction receives a their award. Yes, thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Or an intent to award.
Correct.
What's the pleasure of council? Need a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation from council, from staff.
We have a motion to accept the recommendation to award to Joe, to
Issue a letter,
Joe
a
Co.
notice
Construction.
of intent to
Second.
award.
Well, I have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? How quickly can you go to work?
Mid-January.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. It's
Perfect.
unanimous. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for all your hard work, and I know everybody was involved with that one.
Pretty close.
Before we get to important dates, do you have some
Well-
possible verbiage?
What you got?
Well, there's a little birdie in here that sent me, using a development moratorium correctly, which just came from the municipal association. And there was a case involving Simpkins versus the city of Gaffney, where it basically says that you have to do a moratorium by ordinance. So what you could conceivably do, assuming that all of you vote unanimously in favor of the ordinance, is give ordinance 22-24, which would be an ordinance putting in place a moratorium on tree removal permits or tree removal as part of any and all development submittals. And this is, and we can massage this a little bit, on undeveloped property received at town offices after December 14th, 2022, and remaining in place until second and final reading of the updated tree protection ordinance 2022-20. So I don't know if y'all want to amend it to include more than undeveloped properties, or just leave it at that.
I think we just leave it at that. That stops the rush of any developer coming to beat this ordinance. I think we leave it at that. Do you need one of us to read that in the record, or are you good
Read it
with?
again. I have the wording here that we, but I can read it again if you'd like.
Read it one more time, please?
Ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance putting in place a moratorium on tree removal permits or tree removal as part of any and all development submittals on undeveloped property received at town offices after December 14th, 2022, and remaining in place until second and final reading of an updated tree protection ordinance 2022-20.
Okay. One technical question, to make that ordinance valid, does it have to have a second reading? and a
I
public
think
hearing?
then, I know that there's some discussion of pending ordinance doctrine. I think I would try to hang my hat on that.
Okay. Because if not.
I mean,
well,
we're
that's
winging
for-
it here. I hate to break it to you.
I know that, but if we have to, well,
Yeah.
I think this council's more than willing to do a special meeting, to do a second. And we only need a 24-hour notice, so we could do a special meeting, even on Monday night if we needed to do this. So you tell us whether or not we need a special meeting before the end of, not tonight, you don't need to do it now, not tonight, but tell us if we need a second. But right now, we're gonna say that this is enough. If not, you call us and tell us we need a special meeting, and we get that out. Okay? Pleasure of council on the motion that was read.
Accepted.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. So that removes the table option that was on the table. It's off the table. We've dealt with it. It's now so now we need a motion to postpone,
Orders 2022.
right, 2022-21,
22.
no,
Nope.
It's 20.
I'm on the wrong
20.
agenda. I'm on the wrong agenda. That's what.
right, 2022-20.
22.
That's it.
We need a motion to postpone that to the January meeting. Somebody, just so we can make this all legal?
I'll make the motion to adopt, to
Postpone.
postpone ordinance 2022-20.
We have a second?
Sure.
We have a second? Too many 20s. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Now we're legal. The agenda's complete.
If you guys follow
Okay.
that, if you guys,
Okay. All right, now, important dates. Important dates.
Yeah, we
Oh, yes,
something nice.
Saturday, December 17th, 2022, from 7:30 PM to 10 PM is Music from the Manger at 1801 Richmond Avenue, YMCA.
Yeah, remind everybody about that. That's Music from Maine. Tickets are still available. It's a worthy cause in that way. It's going to be a great show. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, please buy your ticket and come to the show.
Tuesday, December 20th, at 4:30 PM is the Redevelopment Commission meeting. Friday, December 23rd, and Monday, December 26th, we will be closed in observance of Christmas. And Monday, January 2nd, will be closed for New Year's Day.
I don't support C and D.
Make a motion.
Well, they made a movie about you, so.
About dates, I was gonna ask, we've got some Santa rides coming up.
Yes.
We do have Santa rides
Put
coming up.
something out.
Next week?
Says that, so.
We have we posted those dates already on
Okay.
Facebook. I think they were in this week's newsletter. They were in this week's newsletter. They were posted on Facebook. We'll post them again.
And then-
Santa's coming to town. Fire truck's gonna be driving them all over. Thank you, fire department, for accommodating us.
Thank you.
We've got just 2 other dates real quick. If you want to have a great Saturday, they got I know it's not in Port Royal, but the Wreaths Across America laying that they do at the Memorial Cemeteries. It's
Thank you
very
for reminding
special
us of that, Kevin.
ceremony. That's at 12, and then you can roll over to Shell Ring at 2 for the classic beer mile, and then music at Manger at 7:30. So just make a whole day.
A whole day of it.
Walk to the music from the manger.
Yeah, it's walking distance.
It's all walking distance.
Shell Ring to the Y. Yeah.
Council comments? Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet. Close.
Them 2022s is getting me.
The 2022's got me too. Open it up for any final public comment. Can you have a moment?
With Van?
Did we do something wrong?
Before we adjourn?
Okay. Council?
Yeah, they all merged. And y'all need to declare an emergency ordinance and take a supermajority vote to amend the agenda.
And the Municipal Association is giving you some language to read for that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's read it.
Give it to us.
Whoever did the motion, let's go.
Because we added an ordinance, we need a
That was not on the
supermajority,
agenda.
which we got, it's unanimous. But we need to do,
A motion.
Say it.
we need to do a motion. Okay, thank you, David, for that.
David, hold us straight.
I make no warranties, express or imply this, I have to do this, but I just provided it.
You're a municipal attorney.
Applying for
yeah.
that job?
You know what they say about free legal advice, yeah.
And so, in accordance with SC Code of Laws, Section 30-4-80A, the town of Port Royal finds an emergency or exigent circumstances does or will exist if ordinance 2022 24 is not added to the current meeting agenda for the body's consideration and desired action before the conclusion of this meeting.
Do we have a motion?
So
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. The- Now we're gonna redo the motion on the,
The one that Van read.
So
right, we're gonna redo the motion on the moratorium. I need a new motion to approve the moratorium.
So moved.
Meredith, you did it. You seconded it? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, it's unanimous, you need a supermajority for that. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Now is my public comment.
Now you can do your public comment.
Merry Christmas.
Are we going to get billed for that?
I'll work that out later.
Hold on.
The last,
The chocolate-
the chocolate is good. I would ask that y'all talk to Lawrence on your timing of your second ordinance, because there's a timing requirement between ordinance first and second readings that you have to take into account.
We will. Thank you. That's it? In that case, I would like to wish everybody in the town of Port Royal a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If we don't see you again before the end of the year, enjoy yourselves, have fun, and please be safe. Thank you. Good night.